Chapter 4. The results were disappointing. Roman seriously shouted send me back in the house until midnight, even using gestures. He stood in front of the window facing the light, just like Sailor Moon transforming. And except for the moon gradually setting outside the window, nothing had changed. Roman was also hurt. Perhaps this was the most shameful thing he had ever done in his life. Otherwise, he wouldn't be like this now, pounding the bed with a dark face. Maybe you overthought it? I patted his shoulder sympathetically. Roman turned his head and gave me an expressionless look. I couldn't help but burst out laughing, which eventually turned into a torrent of ha. Roman narrowed his eyes. Funny. Seeing that he was genuinely angry, I struggled to close my mouth and began to analyze. Perhaps you can indeed influence the characters in this book, but think about it, if you really have this ability, you should be even less able to use it recklessly. If the characters are really changed and the storyline deviates from the main plot, it will be a disaster for us. We cannot predict the direction of the plot in the book, which brings us more risks. Roman lowered his eyes. I couldn't help but feel worried inside. Now that the second female lead is dead, there are still plots related to the second female lead later, and I don't know how it will turn out. Jesse. Yeah. Roman looked at me with a deep gaze. Do you really think that following the plot is the right thing to do? He revealed the truth that we had always been afraid to voice. If we haven't gotten out by the end, will we always live here as characters in these novels? I was a little confused, but I just smiled at him and said, don't think too much. We won't know whether there is any result until we reach 20,000 words. Is there any better way? After saying that, I opened the door and walked out of his bedroom. Get some rest early, I'm leaving first. The Roman version of Cassian made my life much easier. At least I didn't have to worry about being dealt with by a domineering CEO. But on the surface, we would still pretend that our relationship was not good. We never ate at the same table. I would hide in the bedroom when he was eating. Sometimes I would ask someone to make some snacks and Roman would secretly leave some for me. A week passed peacefully and one morning, I suddenly received a message from Roman. Please pack up and come downstairs. I have something to tell you. Don't let the servants see. I turned over and sat up from the bed, then quietly went to the garage to wait for him. Cassian was wealthy, after all. He owned nearly 10 cars, all limited editions worldwide. To be more conspicuous, I stood in front of a purple Lamborghini and waited. Not long after, Roman appeared from the door of the underground garage and walked towards me. What's the matter? It was a bit cold in the underground garage. I came in a hurry and was only wearing a short-sleeved shirt and shorts. I got goosebumps from the cold and couldn't help hugging my arms. Did you write about Cassian's mom asking him to go to the family estate in your first 20,000 words? Roman took off his suit jacket and put it over my shoulders. Put it on. No. The scene of going to Cassian's family home appears much later. I put on a suit jacket as I spoke. And I also told you that in the early stage, Cassian's mother will come to your house to make things difficult for the heroine, that is me. I stopped talking mid-sentence and looked up at him. Why would Roman ask that? Roman frowned and took out a cigarette case at some point. He took out a cigarette and put it in his mouth, then opened the lighter lid with his thumb, making a click sound. He tilted his head to light it, took a puff, removed the cigarette from between his lips, lowered his head, and remained silent for a while, then suddenly chuckled and licked his lower lip silently with the tip of his tongue. When he looked up again, there was a bit more determination in his eyes. The plot has really been changed. Roman received a call this morning from Cassian's mother saying she was celebrating the birthday of Cassian's cousin, Margaret. After he answered the phone, he checked his schedule for today, but it turned out to be empty. There was also a wrapped gift in the room. In the latest edition of my novel, there is no character named Margaret at all. The random addition of NPCs in the novel world was frightening. Facing the world in front of us, all we could do was move forward. I asked Roman to wait for me while I changed clothes and was about to leave, but Roman stopped me. If you get on and then off, it'll arouse suspicion. Get in the car first and we'll buy it on the way. Roman had been the boss for a few days and had completely grasped the tone. I spent a 5-figure sum on an outfit, and he didn't even bat an eyelid. After I changed and got back on the road, I quietly asked him in the car, "Isn't this outfit worth nearly as much as your salary for several years?" Roman pursed his lips, holding the steering wheel and looking forward, not even looking at me. "This is the only time you will wear such expensive clothes. Cherish it." I looked at his face. He was really handsome, with long eyelashes and a straight nose bridge. He looked 7 parts handsome and 3 parts delicate. "Don't look at me. You will never get this man." I was taken aback by Roman's sudden remark and thought, "Are you talking about yourself or Cassian Hale?" People like domineering CEOs like Cassian Hale simply because they enjoy the thrill of the chase-your-wife-to-the-crematorium trope. If in reality you were really given a handsome male CEO who cheated on you every day and hurt you at the slightest disagreement, anyone lucky enough to be his original wife would have been pissed to death 800 times. Roman was well known in the industry. He was said to have a unique vision and had trained many good authors. But as for me, I really cannot agree with what he said about the sense of excitement and plot conflicts. I rested my elbows on the window frame, supported my head, and asked him, "Roman, are you really ugly?" He glanced at me with a cold look. I sat up straight, leaned back in my chair, and stared at the truck moving ahead. I said lazily, "Why else would you be so venomous? I've been writing books for a while now, and I've had some hits and been published, but when it comes to you, my writing is completely worthless. You made me revise it 5 times, and in the end, you said no one would read it. I think you must have come here under the curse of thousands of authors." I leaned closer to him, trying to find some clues on his face, but he pushed my head away with one hand. The most basic requirements for novels written for new media are a fast pace, smooth writing, and a down-to-earth style. Perhaps because you're used to writing suspense, you always like to set up a plot at the beginning. For ordinary novice readers, they can't understand what you're writing at all and will lose their patience. Roman paused and added, "It's not that you write badly, it's just that you don't understand the market." There was neither joking nor sarcasm in his tone, but I could tell Roman was serious. However, he was so serious that I didn't know what to say next. I was just trying to think of something to lighten the mood when Roman suddenly spoke up. "Do you like to talk when you're nervous?" My heart suddenly sank. This is a minor quirk of mine, a habit that has continued into adulthood. I never expected Roman to notice. He didn't ask any further. When I first found out I was in this book, I was also very nervous. But no matter how anxious you are, it won't help you in any way. Roman's voice was calm, strangely reassuring. No matter how the plot changes, as long as we keep moving forward, there will always be a solution. I knew Roman was trying to calm me down, but I was embarrassed that my secret had been discovered, so I turned my face towards the car window in silence. Outside the window was a bare low hill with a protective net laid on it to prevent falling rocks. There was nothing interesting to see, so I couldn't help but glance at the rearview mirror. There was a private car behind us, rushing forward from the left side of our car at a very fast speed, as if it wanted to change lanes in front of us. This speed is too fast, right? I couldn't help but sit up straight. There was a truck in front of us. Roman deliberately kept a distance from the truck, but the car behind us seemed to be full of energy, and soon it was parallel to our car. Through the car window, you could see that something was wrong with the man driving. He was grinning, and his hands left the steering wheel from time to time. Roman. I drew his attention, and Roman nodded. I see. Roman had already slowed down the car, but he didn't expect that the man would not even look and would directly crash into the rear wheel of the truck in front. Although Roman was prepared, he didn't expect the accident to come so suddenly. He turned the steering wheel all the way to the end. Under the strong inertia, our car spun out. I felt the seatbelt hurting my bones, and then I was hit by a terrible collision. After that, I lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I was lying on Roman's arms. Roman's face was turned sideways. There were some scrapes on his neck, and there was blood on the collar of his shirt. He didn't notice that I was awake and was looking into the distance, as if watching what was happening there. I wanted to see it too, so I tried to prop up my head, but he noticed. Roman immediately turned his head and put his arms around my waist to lift my body up. "Does your rib hurt?" he asked me and seemed to think I might not be awake yet, so he reached out and pressed my ribs repeatedly. "If it hurts, just nod your head. It might be a fracture." "I'm fine." I propped myself up and sat up from his arms, and then I could see clearly what was happening in front of me. It was almost a tragic chain rear-end collision, but the driver was unharmed. Only half of his car was dented by the truck. The perpetrator no longer had the cheerful look he had before. He sat alone on the ground, looking at his car with empty eyes. "What happened?" I turned around and asked Roman, and he explained that the driver was driving under the influence and crashed into the truck in a fit of excitement. I was stunned for a moment after hearing this, and subconsciously went to look for our car. I must not make any mistakes when I go to his family's house today. I am really afraid that this world is no longer in my control. When I looked not far away and saw that our car was stuck on a low hill and couldn't be driven down, a feeling of fear surged from the soles of my feet to my heart. I scrambled to my feet. A sharp pain shot through my right arm and left leg. My feet gave way, and if Roman hadn't caught me, I would have fallen back to the ground. Only then did I see the large area of blood on my left leg and my bruised arm, which was almost numb. I pushed Roman away and rushed toward the car. The door was already twisted and deformed, but I still didn't want to give up. I tried many times, but the door still didn't budge. Damn it. I pounded the wrecked car a few times, filled with hatred and anger, and turned to look at the person who caused the accident.